Thanks. Sorry. Hi everybody, welcome to a rolling start on a Saturday afternoon. It's a race today, so like most... Hi everybody, welcome back, and hopefully things are going to be better now. The most important thing for the afternoon is to start where we left off this morning, and that is with the kill in the tree with Karula. I know the other vehicles are coming this way, and as I look at it now, there's a cat in the tree. We just have to see, there are 2 cats in the tree, 3 cats in the tree. So, oh, this would be a nice way to go in, but, oh wait, hang on a sec. That bush willow will whip over. So what I'm finding very unusual about what I'm seeing right now is that there's no fighting with, oh, the kill's a little higher maybe. Welcome to Juma, and this is part of the reason why, one of the most important parts of us being here is this family that we're witnessing now. The kill is actually about to be lost, by the way. One of the cubs has got it in a much lower fork, and Karula's there panting. I don't know, can you see the other cub? How are we doing this? This one. Yeah. Go back a little more.
If you can sort of go that way slightly, I might be able to see the
I just thought that might get Karula behind that acacia. Okay, here we go. We've got an amazing scene. We're not going to be able to stay too long because other vehicles are going to be coming by. But my being here is important because we left it this morning, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that wanted to come back and see what was happening, an update of this phenomenal sight we had. The cubs weren't here this morning. Karula in the interim must have headed off to fetch them. It's a tree that hasn't got its leaves yet. It's a big marula tree, and of course it's a very hot afternoon. There is a bit of a breeze, but it's all in the sun, and sure. Well, where Karula is lying is where it was, and now it's kind of slid down into this fork, possibly. I don't think it's because of the shade, possibly from the cubs pulling it about. Might have fallen down, and she might have had to bring it up again. Who's that, little boy or little girl on the kill?
I think that's a little boy.
Of course, where it is now, it's wedged in a fork. It doesn't offer very much place for a leopard to stand and feed, or sit, or you know, to be on the branch, to be able to feed on the carcass. So she's playing with it more than anything else. It looks like she's pretending to kill it over and over, more than feeding. She's like a cat with a mouse, except it's whoa. Except she fell out of the tree. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to be hyena around here at the moment, so you see, here's another vehicle that more than bargaining for. So that is little boy, maybe. Ah, she's going up that little apple leaf. Easier way to climb. Oh, she thinks so. How are you going to get to the big tree from there, little girl?
Is it a little girl?
Or is it a little boy?
I don't know. I can't.
I'm trying to look under that tail because I can't see the face. Oh, she made it. Give her a little hand, you know. That was phenomenal. Talk about the most energy-consuming way to climb into the marula tree. But maybe it was a way of... Maybe she was clever. Sorry. Looks like hey? Maybe clever in doing so, in that... Trying to grab hold of the tree might grab hold of the carcass. I'm going to Mom. Hello, Mom.
Yeah, it is a little girl, hey?
Yeah, it is Shivambalana.
Yeah, it is a little girl, hey?
Yeah, it is Shivambalana. He's not high. Let's see. Let's draw comparisons between Shivambalana and Induna, the same age. And let's take bets on how the kill managed to get out of that really nice fork where Karula is to that really awkward fork where he's playing with it. And
it's the girl.
Is it the girl?
Yeah, it was the girl.
Okay, so sorry. Shivinzi was playing with it. Sorry, little boy. See, I can't see him lying on that branch.
Yeah.
I need to look at start learning leg or base of tail markings to identify them. Of course, you can take any patch of a leopard and use that as a marker, as an identifying feature. For example, let's say there on the ankle of that cub lying there, way to the left of the picture, you look at that ankle. There, pussycats are tired. We're going to probably move on. And
not active. FM, nothing in here.
Takes. Now, please stop making your way here. I'll pull out for you. Yeah, I can't get to Nkombi. We'll just have a couple more minutes before Texan is going to bring in the other Vuyatela guests. The heavy panting, of course, is due to various reasons. I mean, this is Karula, this is Mom. She's the mother of these two cubs. They are both 10 months old. They'll be a year in November, mid-November. They're her third litter, and she's panting partly because she's been feeding, so she's uncomfortable. She's lying on her stomach, she's lying on her chest. Panting is helping her to cool down, the same way as a dog does. She's probably so full she's found herself a good spot there to let her belly fall between, funny enough, probably the same fork that the belly of the impala was hanging in this morning. She's got her belly in that fork too now. But she can endure this heat. It's not as bad as summer, and the breeze down here is probably doubled up there above the bush willow, the tight bush willow that we're sitting in here. But a very competent mother, her third litter. So let's go and find something else. Sorry, Tara. I think I was going to bite her. Oh, look at that. She looked at us. I didn't even bring my camera out today.
How could you not?
Well, no, it's here, but I didn't bring it out to take anything. Because at that distance, it just doesn't... How many photos I've got of our leopards at that distance, and you zoom in and you can't even tell whether it's Karula or Mafufunya. I'll stick to the insects. You and Seb do the good leopard stuff. Which reminds me, I need to put some photos on cafepress.com/Djuma Game Reserve. Or is it Djuma Private Game Reserve? Let's make our way out. I'm afraid we're going to have to. But we will come back. I want to make sure that I get back here later on during our drive. And hopefully then we will be able to spend a bit more time. The sun will be a little bit lower, and maybe they'll get a little bit more active. Maybe the hyenas will come around. I just heard from Texan that the hyena den is not active, but that's not really that surprising. It is a hot afternoon by Sydney. Lost picture. We're back. Not yet.
How could the table be so
We're back but not stable, so we are more stable now. We're fine. What is that tree there? So Texan says that the hyena den is not active. This makes me think that they might have moved. Or it's just a hot day and they're all inside. So let us hear from you, wherever you are in the world. I want to see how many... Well, no, that might clog up emails. But don't forget to send in questions if you want to. Questions@djuma.com. I'll see what I can do about answering them. It depends. Depends on the question. No, the question will be answered, but the answer depends on what the question is. Whether it can be answered or not. Where should we go? Buffelshoek Dam. for elephants. Hello, young impala. Hello, two young boys. Look at the difference in horn size here. We can get to see these two boys if they don't run away. No, you stay there. Don't move. I should have said move, then they would have stayed there. But one of them is a yearling and one of them is just going through his first spring. So the little boy at the back, this is one of the little lambs that was born last year. So all of the little boys his age are going to have these horns that are just a little bit longer than their ears. And then, if we can see this other little boy, if he just doesn't move behind bushes. Look at that. See, now he's a year older than the other one. So he's now 18, 19, maybe 20 months old actually, more. No, not 22. Yes, about 22 months old. The other one's about 10 months old. Very common antelope right throughout sub-Saharan Africa, and an animal that has become extremely successful in terms of its ability to adapt to so many different conditions. And one of the things that makes the impala so adaptable is its varied diet. It's neither a obligate browser or grazer. It's actually a bit of a mixed feeder. They will graze and they will browse. So when there's a shortage of grasses, they can happily digest the leaves, and when there is an abundance of grasses, they can capitalize on the grasses and eat less leaf matter. And different times of the year too. They will sometimes, like now, they're probably eating a lot of fresh leaves as well as the dry grasses. Another thing that makes them successful is their behavior, their social structure, and the ability to overcome perhaps being the most hunted animal in the bush. In fact, I think the impala probably has the widest range of predators. And if it wasn't such a successful animal, having so many predators, it would be wiped out a long time ago. So because it tastes good and a lot of things like to eat it, nature makes sure that there are a lot of them about. And to be successful when there are a lot of you and a lot of you are being eaten, it helps having your children all at the same time. That's why impala go through a very short estrus period, well, relatively short, and for the males, rutting period. And within that time, all of the females can become pregnant so that they all conceive at around about the same time, so that when they give birth, there are more lambs around than predators that can eat them, and some of them will survive. A fair percentage of them are then destined to. Woolly-necked storks were at Chelapan. They're going to be flying over to Gowrie Dam now. Whoever's pondy at the moment, the woolly-necked storks might be on the way. I don't know. No, they're going to land in the drainage line. Probably sneak back here. I'll tell you why they're here in a minute. Let's go and have a look at our vulture chick. Maybe we'll see. Sorry, just alright. So I think that ends the Impala. I want to see if we can see those stalks might have landed in here somewhere.
They are, yeah.
Can you see them?
Yeah, just in the dead tree, just a careful.
Oh, there. And right close. Look at that. That's beautiful. And that is one of the most beautiful skeletal leadwoods. It's a dead leadwood that could have died a couple of 100 years ago. Judging by the thickness of the branches, it was a long time ago. It takes a long time for the finer branches to eventually break off. And the leadwood, such a dense tree, doesn't rot. It doesn't. There's also a giraffe in front of us. It doesn't rot, and insects don't eat it because they can't. It's too heavy. And so it kind of just weathers away. And it's leadwood because it sinks with moonrises and sunsets. And in the Timbavati there are a few favorite ones. There used to be a really magic one down in, it was then Sabi Sabi, it's now Lion Sands, just near the main lodge on the way to the Skukuza airport, that was thought to have been well over 12 to 1500 years old, and that it had died well over 500 odd years prior to our current time, because the last 20 years wouldn't make a difference in 2000 years of a leadwood being there. Its base was probably thicker than this Land Rover. Now these two woolly neck storks are a pair, a couple, and they're at a little drying up waterhole called Chelapan. Chelapan is a seasonal pan. It should be dry by now. I think last year by this time it probably was dry already. It's still got a little bit of water, and a hot day and a hot windy day like this is going to evaporate the water quite rapidly, and in that process it makes competition for space with all the aquatic life a lot more critical. And that allows things like storks to feed on frogs so much easier. We're a bit low now to see the vulture, but in the background is the jackalberry with our vulture's nest. And well, 2 days ago we had the first glimpse of a youngster reaching up to be fed. Actually, what drew our attention to it was the fact that one adult was on the nest and there was another adult flying in. It was just that perfect. It was this time of day, in fact. The other adult came in with a full crop, and we could see even when it was flying that it had a full crop. And when it landed, the adult that was on the nest obviously went off to find its own food and maybe bring some more. And we watched that adult regurgitating food and a little chick reaching up to eat it. This one, I don't know whether it's the male or the female. I'm not too sure on that. Did that vulture guy, did he say who spends the most time on the nest and who brings the food?
No, I don't think he did.
But I mean, just by what we saw the other day, we had one come back in, and when it came back in, the other one left. So they probably just...
I think they were just taking in turns.
They will. And then he'll go fly past his mates, and he'll sit in a tree and talk to his mates for about 5 hours. And then he'll come back with this little meager crop of food. And she'll say, honey, where were you all day? He was saying, gee, it's such a hot day, the predators weren't hunting. He couldn't find anything. Hunted for hours. Meanwhile, he was sitting in a tree talking to his mates. And she's got to shield the poor child all afternoon in the heat. A lovely big male giraffe just ahead of us, but he's going to be behind bushes for you.
Yeah, I can't see him from where we are at the moment.
No.
He's nicely hidden behind the bush.
Still saying focus.
Hmm? That's as good as we can get.
It's just lifted its head. I wonder if... Okay, we're going to move a little bit just to see this giraffe. I'm trying to figure out what that is that he's eating. New growth on something. Sorry. Carry on feeding, old man. Is that okay?
Just a little.
Hopefully he'll come out of the drainage line a little bit. Let's see if I can... Was he getting caught up there? Yeah, he got his head in a weird spot. He's an old man. You can see how many knobs and things he has on his head. Is that a big buffalo thought? No, it's not. It's a young tambuti. Hello, Brent, in New Orleans. Gosh, the sun is really bright today. Okay, giraffe is... Oh, you can see nicely now? Let's keep... Sit here for a minute. Yeah, just a bit. He's moved around to the back.
Well, we could.
Yeah. Brent was asking, do we get different animals in summer and winter here? More birds, and of course the insect and reptile life is different. But you know, it's different. We get birds that migrate, Brent. But the insect life, the reptile life, and that all depends on moisture and rainfall and greening up and temperature. So a lot of them might be dormant. A lot of the insect and spider life die off and only come alive again. They hatch in the eggs now, hatching from eggs now, especially caterpillars and things. A lot of caterpillars are hatching now because so many new things are coming into leaf. And the tiniest of caterpillars need the tiniest and freshest of leaves, and they grow kind of with the leaves, because if they have to be coming out on the some of these plants that are their host plants, some of the plants that are the host plants have got really, really tough leaves, and it's better for the caterpillars to feed on the leaves when they're very, very small and fresh and soft. But animals, we get seasonal movement. I mean, I think this time of the year we have more giraffe activity on account of the fact that there are so many new and fresh leaves coming out. During the height of the dry season, when sort of the winter months, we don't have too much giraffe activity, but it's not something that one can predict, because animal movement is somewhat seasonal, but it's also such a large area. Some animals like elephant and giraffe and zebra, there we get a bit more seasonal movement. There are times we can go for a while without giraffe or without zebra. Times we can spend a couple of months not seeing elephant. And that's just there. It's not migration. It's not a very set time period. It's just their natural movement through the bush in search of better feeding grounds. They outdo themselves. The populations are not that dense. In this area like this is quite dense. This could do with a little bit of elephant feeding. Clear it out so that some of these trees can become adults. At the moment they're all in competition with each other, so that it limits their growth. So many trees have the ability to put, and then of course there's competition for light, but sometimes you get stands of the same species, so defenses are against mostly other species. You can get really thick areas of the same type of tree that does need thinning out. And after the elephants have been there, they do a few things. They leave a lot of branches on the ground and feeds those trees, that those trees have a better chance. It would be amazing to have an opportunity to do with digital photography like Gowrie Dam. I mean, if in the next 100 years or so there were to be live cams here at Gowrie Dam, and over years you would be able to see, if you did time-lapse photography, you'd be able to see how trees grow, reach their full potential, die, and while they're doing that, the new ones are coming up, and there might be 100 to start with, and then when they reach half age, there might be lots of. Still, let's try that white cable. Oh, we're back. Maybe we should try that white cable.
We go again.
Yeah. I don't want to wander too far, because I do want to go. Okay. Hello, Baz. Baz in the Netherlands. To know about the cheetah population here at Djuma. Well, here at Djuma specifically, I can't speak of a cheetah population. Cheetah come through this area, Baz. The cheetah use a much wider area than any of the other large predators. I think maybe wild dogs might compete with cheetah in terms of the size area that they utilize. You see something? And we do have cheetah that come through here. Cheetah population overall in the Sabi Sand is not bad. I don't know what it is now. I know that 20 years ago I used to have amazing time with cheetah. I think there were more cheetah around here in those days, but that also possibly had something to do with the Sabi Sand being self-contained. It was not open to Kruger, and it could be that the cheetah population expanded into Kruger from the Sabi Sand because of the good population here. I don't know. I'm not too sure what the status is between the Sabi in the Sabi Sand. So it's difficult for an animal that only comes through Djuma on occasion, and an animal that has a home range of 50 times the size of Djuma. have to look at it on a much larger scale. Actually got a nice opportunity here to look at some impala from a different perspective. We're on top of the dam wall, and they're all down there in the bowl. The one thing that perhaps stands against us here at Djuma is a relatively small area, and there isn't the right habitat for cheetah to feel comfortable in incorporating this in the bulk of their home range. So they use Djuma to get from area to area. This is the main prey item in this part of the world, in the Kruger. Probably yeah, probably about the main prey item for cheetah. But where these impala are now, would be impossible for a cheetah to hunt. Not impossible, actually. No, that's pushing it a bit. Cheetah could, and I have seen cheetah hunting in terrain similar to this. Taking the initiative because the opportunity arose, and being able to get in place and make a rush for it. But it is not ideal habitat. Cheetah need to chase, they need to hunt at high speed, and this thick bush doesn't allow them to do that. Here's a very pregnant impala. That's why they're pretty easy targets at the moment. They're carrying extra weight. The guests, I met some of the guests at the lodge today, and they were viewing a cheetah this morning, a female cheetah who sounded like she was behaving like Karula. She was being a bit of a prima donna, showing off on a termite mound. And that is an area just north of here where there's open grassland and the right type of habitat for cheetah. And she might need to move. She could be the mother of the pair that we've seen here, where there was a female with her young female cub who became an adult here and moved on. I think that was one of the last times we saw them together, or if not the last time we saw them together. They killed 2 impala up on Sandy Patch. We watched them feeding one day, about a year, well no, it was summer then. 18 months ago maybe, no, not that long. 15 months, I don't know, can't remember, 15 months ago maybe. Last cheetah we had was some cheetah. Where was the last cheetah?
Well, it's been a while, eh?
Has been a while. Trying to think who it was.
It was you. I think you had the last cheetah. I
Yeah.
haven't seen cheetah since those 3 boys with Herman.
Well, there were those 3 boys that were in the grasses there at Sydney's Dam.
Yeah, I didn't see them. I think that was you.
That was me and, was it Seb? Or Daniel? Or, why can't I remember these things? Some hello grooming going on. That might be little boy's mom. There's another one of the little boys born last year. This is his first spring. He made it through the winter. He's going to be able to stay with the herd until next year rutting season. So he'll still be around when the ewes are all dropping their lambs in November and December. He'll still be allowed to stay with them. But come end of April, May, when the ram starts settling down to misbehave in the rutting season, settling down to misbehave, that makes sense. But yes, when the ram starts going into the rut, he will chase this little boy out, and this little boy will be at a little bit of a loss, and he'll have to join up with some of the bachelor herds. And over time, you will be able to watch through us how the dynamics change of the impala that live around here. Using their lower incisors to comb through each other's hair. Sort of a row of them that are grooved, that allow them to comb through the hair and take off whatever, any imperfections, whether it may be ticks, bits of mud, bits of blood, something tickle his foot. Okay, let me see what's happening at that leopard. I don't want to waste any time. If we can go there, I'm going there. Wow, we've got the three of them in such a beautiful tree with this light. Any station with Ingwe? How many vehicles do you have? Oh, okay, thank you. Come, let's go to Karula and the Cubs.
I thought you'd never ask.
Thought I'd never ask. Deborah, what is that? What snakes are found in the grassy areas? Or snacks? Deborah? Oh. Are you duct taped in, Tara? You kind of got a little bit curious there. Vroom vroom. Okay. No time to waste. Batteries might beep on us at any minute. We're going to Karula and the Cubs. We're going to sit there until I'm forced out of there. Because I'm sure that's what everybody wants, right? You can hear the collective yes coming across oceans and continents.
I think it's going to be
No, except
yes.
Sept. Sept's saying no. Everybody wants to go to the sausage tree. Sept's saying no. I thought Seb was going to say no, I want to go to the hyena den. The hyena den. The hyena Pied Piper.
I still
Hyena.
haven't been able to say it like
Hyena.
Seb says it.
Pardon?
I haven't been able to say it like Seb says it.
No, I can't say it like Seb.
Hyena.
The hyena den. From the hyena Pied Piper himself. Hyena. Hyena.
See, now Seb doesn't have the microphone anymore, so...
Whoops. Mind the buffalo thorn. Okay. So, cheetah. Open areas, grassy areas. They want to know what snakes we find in open grassy areas. Well, you find grass snakes. No, seriously. Actually one of the, how can I put it? The most venomous of the semi-venomous snakes. So it's not really considered a venomous snake, but it is of note to humans. It can, I don't know, don't even know what bite it can cause yet. I don't know if it's a cytotoxic. No, it can't be. It must be maybe a I don't know. I'll check on that. Cobras. And Mamba's not really in the open grassland areas. Here's a snake track as we speak, a very big one. I wish we could see one of these snakes. Some nice tracks in the road too. Puff adders. Definitely puff adders. Odd python making its way through. And Deborah was also asking that if we can go frogging again. Yeah, I don't see why not. I've actually got I found a nice plastic, it's a square plastic, looks like it was something that a perfume bottle or something would come in, or maybe it was a special bottle of whiskey or something, but it's clear plastic. And instead of that funny plastic thing that I used the last time, this one might actually be better, especially if I can seal it at the bottom. Oh, I don't really have to. Oh, hello little steenbok, you're a youngster. red-lipped heralds, black-headed centipede. We see in the open grassland you get termite mounds, so you get a number of snakes that are associated with termite mounds too. How about little steenbok? I couldn't even reach for my binoculars. And was it a little girl?
I didn't notice.
Did anybody see any little horns? It was a youngster nonetheless. There it is, still there. Tiny little thing. Hey, that's snake food, eagle food. Pardon? Very pretty little thing. And off it goes again. There's our one-horned buffalo, a couple of big bulls here. I don't know, maybe making their way to or from the dam. Hello boys. Hello sumac. Reminding me about the sausage tree. Well, I suppose we can stop. We've got to go through Philomena's Dip. We'll just have a quick look. But also the fruit is very heavy. I meant to bring it. I have the dried fruit back at camp from last year. It's not the flower. The flower's, it's big. It's an unusual flower. It's an unusual size flower with such a big petal for this part of the world. But it's not the flower that's heavy, but it's the fruit. The fruit, being a very big sausage-shaped fruit, can reach well over 1 meter in length. They can weigh over 10 kilograms in weight. They have shattered many a windshield of a car. People who go to the bush and think a lovely big shady tree, because they're normally one of the biggest, shadiest trees around, and a lovely shady tree to camp under, and then the next thing they know, they've got fruits falling off of the tree. But it is the wrong angle that we're at now. The sausage tree is best viewed in the morning. I've just seen a flower fall, but we'll just have a quick look from this angle. It's resplendent in full glory. Right now it's full of flowers, full of leaves. I don't really want to stop here too long because the pump is pumping away and it's making a bit of a noise. And I want to get to the leopards, because other vehicles, there will probably be other. Now what we're going to do is we're going to watch some of those flower spikes. Now the flower, when it has been pollinated, is actually released by the calyx, and what remains is just the ovary and the stigma. And then of course if it's fertilized, the ovary starts to swell and becomes the big sausage. And the key will be to watch and see whether any of these hanging spikes turn into little sausages. And at first they start off like little chipolatas, like little tiny, in fact like overgrown beans. And then they slowly become chipolatas, and then they become Vienna sausages, and then they become frankfurters, and then they become bigger wurst type things. And before you know it, at the end of summer, you've got these meter-long 5 to 10 kilogram behemoths hanging from the tree. So we're going to be keeping an eye out. We've seen it go from dry leaves, old leaves, to losing its leaves, to getting the first hint of flowers and then the first hint of leaves, and in a matter of 2 weeks it's in full leaf, full flower, and it's a sausage tree in all its beauty. And we watched this particular tree partly because it's the only one that decent one we have here. Possibly a fluke that it arrived here, maybe from a bird that dropped the seed, maybe an elephant, maybe even a hippo. Who knows? It's up the drainage line. It needs water. There is good underground water here. There are a couple of unique trees on this drainage line and the Mulwati. But as you go down, when you follow this sorry, hang on. This drainage line runs into the Mulwati, and the Mulwati runs south and it eventually runs into the Sand River, and that's where you find a lot more of these trees. So somehow from the population of trees further down near the Sand River and the Sabi River, somehow that population has moved north up into, this is probably its sort of northernmost reach in the Sabi Sand where the sausage trees are. Crunch. So we're just gonna watch some amazing things now. Sit quietly and watch leopards for a while. Wander through there maybe. It's going to have too much light ground going in there.
A bit further, through this gap here.
Ah yes, there's a good one.
Yeah. I think you can sort of move apart.
There.
There's further.
Hello,
I
Graham.
was thinking if you were there.
Okay. Okay. Is that okay?
It's just one branch that's in the way.
Still.
Yeah, that's
It's a terrible spot. So we'll just have to sit here for a minute. Was feeding as we were driving in, but now just collapsed on top of it. Hyenas at the base again. The same one that looks like it is floppy ear, but I don't think it's floppy ear. We'll get another look now, and I'm sure there are a few of you.
You're right, the tip is just folded over, it's not like floppy ears.
Sure, we'll get an idea from a few of you whether it is really well, it's definitely not. I don't think it's not as old as floppy ear was. And it is just the tip that's folded over, and that's why I think this one was one of the ones that was at the den. Greetings, Doug, in Virginia. Oh, this little one's going to drop a piece of bone. Trying to pull up that leg. They've been feeding on it all day, so there are parts of it that are bound to fall soon. But Doug wants to know how long they'll feed on it, and are they in danger if the hyenas come. I think that's pretty much it. If I missed anything, Seb, let me know. But Doug, as long as there are hyenas here, they probably, and as long as there's food in the tree, the hyenas are going to come. Now, as we go into nightfall, and it cools down. Hyenas, of course, are going to be waking up, and there's a good chance that this one will call the others, or the others will just come along anyway. Here she comes now, this hyena. And if the pressure from hyenas is too great underneath the tree, they're likely to stay up there. In terms of feeding on the kill, by tomorrow with the three of them, I reckon by tomorrow it'll probably be finished if they can get it out of that fork. Maybe Karula could probably get it higher up again. The cubs, I think, are a little bit too inexperienced to be able to do that, and they're likely to lose, if not parts of it, but the whole thing. And she's just, the hyena's just going to hang around waiting to hear something falling. I'm curious about this hyena and whether we've seen her before, and whether she is maybe. She's not big and fat enough to be floppy. Yes, she is a mother though. I wonder where. I don't recall seeing her.
No.
And I recall floppy.
Right, her ear isn't flopped over enough for floppy ear.
But she's also too fluffy. She's too young.
Yeah. If we move back just slightly, we might be able to just get past this little branch is just right in the way.
Okay. For who? For Karula or for?
For
the carcass.
The little boy that's on the carcass. From there, if you have a look on the screen, it's that branch. We're able to go to the side.
Yeah. Hello, Bets. In Pennsylvania. Was surprised to see Karula eating the tail. But I don't know so much if she was eating the tail, Bets, because as far as I've ever witnessed, they'll eat at the base of the tail, but they drop the tail. I've often found the tail of an impala after a leopard kill, and she was eating at the tail end, and at one point she was bringing out what was this what looked like a long thin thread was actually intestines, or the lining, not the lining of the stomach, but the lining of the intestine going to the stomach, because at one point she actually had the stomach in her mouth with its different chambers full of food. Hello, Emma. How many cubs do they usually give birth to? Well, there's no real usual. 1, 2, or 3 is usual. They can have more. I think the most has been recorded have been 6, but that would be very unusual. You've got to remember, leopard has only got 4 lactating nipples, so she's not going to have a good time with 6 cubs. I haven't known of a leopard with 4. And most I've known with leopard is 3, but usually 2. And I've got to keep the radio on because of the sighting. I don't want to, but I have to. Well, see, now's a critical time. It's moving the kill a little bit. Time to drop something. Or moving around on the kill. Trying to reposition maybe. Survival rate in leopard cubs it isn't great, and this leopard with her 2 cubs is actually an exception rather than the rule. For her to have her second, or rather her third litter of 2, and her previous 2 litters have been successful, and at this stage of the game proving to be quite successful with these 2, and a lot of her success has got a lot to do with other factors that are involved in this part of the game reserve, this part of the world. One in particular is the competition with lion, and the other is perhaps the competition with other leopards, but also the whole dynamic of leopards in this part of the world is perhaps all aided in her successfully raising her cubs. Elsewhere, where there's greater leopard pressure, females, even her own offspring, haven't had the same level of success that she's had in raising her cubs. She's just an excellent mother. I mean, this is one of the things that we all love about her, that she might leave the cubs sometimes for 4 or 5 days and one thinks that she's not coming back, but she does. It's all part of a leopard's learning and upbringing. Makes them stronger. So once again, it's one of those depends answers, because it depends largely on the density of not only leopards but other prey species that live in the same area, that compete for space, compete for food and territory with leopards, and perhaps are leopards' greatest enemies. Things like lion, hyena, and to some degree other leopards. Getting some nice shots, Tara.
Yeah.
So you go, Seb. Hello, Sarah. An interesting question, actually. Why is the kill never so bloody? Does it drip and drain first? Well, there have been kills. I have seen some kills that are so fresh that, depending on the injury and depending on the method it was killed, I've had blood running down the trunk of a tree, but not in great numbers. I mean, we're talking about arterial spray here. We're talking about just running sort of residual blood that gravity fed is running out of the animal. But you have to remember too that once it is dead and the heart stops beating, the blood clotting of the blood takes place pretty quickly, and when they're feeding on the meaty bits, the outer bits first, before they get to the veins and arteries. So by the time they get to veins and arteries, a lot of that blood is clotted already. That's why you see when hyena and wild dog and lion feed on a kill and they go into sort of that feeding frenzy, that's why there's so much more blood then, because a lot of the time the animal might still be alive, but also they're opening up a carcass or an animal so fast and so furiously that blood does still flow. But for leopard and to some degree cheetah sometimes get very bloody mouths, but it takes them a long time to get into the parts where there might still be liquid blood, but by the time they get there, by then it's already coagulated. Time to swap. One goes up and the other one comes down. Little Shivambalana that is now headed up to lie down in the tree, and little Shivinzi coming to get something to eat. Hello, Sherry. Sherry is wondering what would happen if the leopard fell out of the tree now with the hyena lurking. Well, unfortunately, the way the hyena's reactions work, because what the hyena is waiting to hear is a plop on the ground, whether it's a leopard or a kill, or the remains of a carcass or a bone. The hyena is just waiting out that sound, and as soon as it does, it reacts. Perhaps the saving grace is that the leopard are pretty agile and pretty quick. I think it would barely touch the ground and it would jump back up again. And I think that's possibly how maybe Induna lost the tip of his tail. We think that maybe that had something to do with it, or maybe that he was chased up a tree and he couldn't get high enough, and he hyena at the base. No wonder. And hyena at the base kind of chased him and somehow got the tip of his tail as he was trying to get back into the tree. Hello, Gilly. Interesting concept, very interesting. Never thought of it that way. I'm saying somebody, was it Sarah in chat? Saying something about Sarah Slipper. Who's Sarah Slipper? Sarah Kearns. Okay, I don't know. Sarah Slipper in chat. Interesting concept. Thanks, Gilly. You see, never would have thought of that. But evidently, a theory that, and it might, theory, as in many other theories, don't necessarily have to be waiting to be proved. There might be a theory because they have been proved, and that's why they're a theory. If you listen to Richard Dawkins. But they eat the inside, the stomach contents first, because that has the bacteria that can spoil the meat. And then they can eat the meat at leisure. Well, I can believe it to some degree. I mean, it does sound somewhat feasible. Why I blow it out of the water is because the bacteria in the gut is a bacteria that acts on plant matter. It's a phytophage bacteria. I'm guessing, I'm thinking. The meat spoils at its own rate because it's completely... Who are you hissing at? Maybe hyena was moving around. She turned around and hissed behind her. Meat, as with any kitchen meal that you're preparing, once temperatures rise, once normal room ambient temperature hits it, bacteria starts forming immediately and it starts decomposing. For us as humans, we tend to cook it pretty quickly so we don't allow the bacteria to take hold and we don't get that kind of smell on our food. But I think that bacteria will attack the meat regardless of whether the stomach contents are there or not. They just have a stomach to be able, well, they are able to stomach it. The meat when it starts going bad, and their stomach acids are able to deal with it. Hello, Sumac. How many kills will they make weekly, and at what age will she let them fend for themselves? Sue, anywhere between 1 and 10 kills weekly, maybe even more. You never know how many kills. What hyenas found something in the grasses there, was just shaking it and eating it. It depends. I mean, I'm sorry, really wish I could find another way to start an answer, but really that's kind of how nature is, because it depends on what it is that they're hunting. I mean, if they're hunting small things, they obviously need to eat more of them. If they have a large item, I mean, they could catch a large prey item. And the other thing, of course, is how many leopard are feeding on it. I mean, with 3 of them, they're going to go through an impala a lot quicker than if it was just Karula on her own. It might last her 2 or 3 days if it was on her own, whereas with the 3 of them, it'll last a day. So to a large, oh, mind your tail, little girl. Hyena can jump up there. It's a bit too high for hyena, I guess. In fact, the leg bone's hanging lower than her tail, so I think the hyena, if it could, would probably go for that leg bone. If it did that, it would pull that whole carcass down. But it's just a little bit too high out of reach. That's how good Karula is. So, in terms of how many kills they'd make weekly, I mean, they could have 1 kill and then not kill for another week. Partly got to do with opportunism. It's partly got to do with the availability of prey. It's partly got to do with her success rate in hunting and whether she's impatient or not in hunting. And of course, then it largely comes down to the size animal that they kill and whether they're able to hoist it into a tree and feed off of all of it, or whether they lose it to another animal. I mean, she could make 10 kills in a week and only feed on 2 of them. If she loses them all the time to hyena, of course, it's going to deplete her energy reserves and it's going to make it very difficult for her to hunt once again. In terms of how old will they be when they become independent, well, anywhere from now up until 2 years old. Once again, there's no set rule there, and it largely depends on other leopards, prey availability, whether or not mom gets irritable with them at a younger age. We're going to see. We'll be able to draw comparisons now between this litter and her previous 2 litters in terms of how she reacts to them and how they behave with her as they start growing older, going into their 2nd year. Leopards have been known to go out on their own from as young as 8 months. Hello, Nicole. Nicole wants to know if a hyena would kill a leopard easily, and would the leopards gorge themselves until there's nothing left, or would they give some to the hyena? So, first part of that, I wouldn't say it would be an easy kill. Maybe for the youngsters, yes, but for an adult leopard and an adult hyena, I'm sure that hyena will get a good few injuries in that kind of a fight. There are claws and teeth on a leopard that you don't want to mess with, even if you're a hyena. But it would be a battle of strength. Would be fierce. Hyena's just gone to lie down again in the shade, waiting to hear another morsel or something drop. And you'll see if Karula changes position and a piece of bark falls off of the tree, the hyena will still come looking, because it'll be, yeah, look, she's getting up now. And is she going to drop a piece of bark? If I was a leopard, I'd sit there and peel bits of bark off and just drop it down and tease the hyena all the time. As soon as it lay down in the shade, I'd sort of hook my nail under a piece of bark. See, now we can move and maybe get a nicer view of her. And then the hyena will come running along and see what it was, and then that's a piece of bark and go lie down in the shade, and I'll just wait until it closes its eyes, and then I'd flick another piece of bark off. But of course that's me. Leopard are not like me, they're not vindictive. They wouldn't, Nicole, they wouldn't give anything to the hyena. They would, if anything, protect it to its last morsel. But as they feed on it and it becomes more disjointed and disarticulate, pieces are bound to fall off until they're left with bits that don't really balance in the fork of tree very much. And especially, this is a huge learning curve for the cubs. Learning how to not only feed on a carcass in the tree, but also manipulate it when they're getting to the point of no more meat on one bit of it and they want to get to bits of meat somewhere else. Their inexperience is what feeds the hyena more than anything else, because they're likely to drop it, because they've got to learn how to wedge it into a fork of a tree. They've got to learn how to carry it when they're above the ground. It's one thing to drag it on the ground. It's another thing to keep your footing on in a precarious way in a tree with a carcass that probably weighs as much as you, if not more. Hello, Safari Girl. I haven't heard from you for a while. Wanting to know if leopard have some sort of order when it comes to eating, like male first, then female. Not really. I mean, they are mostly solitary, and we've seen some really strange behavior with multiple leopards on kills. But it's a battle of wits there. We saw this morning when we first found Karula. She had virtually just started feeding on it, and that was, she knew the carcass was secure in a tree, so instead of going to fetch the youngsters, she actually fed on it first. And she won't always do that. There will be times when she will put the carcass in a tree. In fact, as they're starting to get older, she's likely to do that, where they'll have to come to the carcass and they'll have to find a way to get into the meat. She won't open it first. Maybe it'll be a time when she's already been feeding on a kill and she's full enough that she doesn't have to feed first. And it's a way for them to learn how to get into a carcass. The way she did it today, she got into the carcass herself first and managed to feed, knowing that her two youngsters would be pretty hungry when they came here. And I would guess that it was, having watched her before with the youngsters and having watched other leopard, they know that she's been feeding. When she goes to fetch them, the first thing they do is rub on her face and smell her face and lick her face, and they will obviously pick up the blood and the smell of, and they'll get excited before they even get here. And the whole trip from where they were hiding, or where they'd been hidden, back to the kill, is this whole kind of battle of who can see it first and who can get there first. And the one will start running ahead thinking it sees something, and the other one will chase it, and it is basically who gets up to the tree first and can hold the other one away. And it's that very battle that determines the sort of the mini hierarchy that goes on within a little clan of leopard like this, a little leap of leopards. So she would have come along afterwards, and having fed already, probably wasn't that much interested. Yeah, she's just looked up at her brother now. Her brother was starting to slip and he needed to reposition himself. And she heard him moving, she looked up at him and hissed at him. And that was enough. Even if his eyes were open and looking at her and maybe even thinking of going to feed on the kill, would have been enough to discourage him. It was enough of a warning to say, look, I'm busy, stay away. And she'll do that to Karula too, if Karula approaches. Things must be falling because hyenas come and lurking again. And the wind has changed too. We're now getting a northerly wind, bringing us the sound of the engine, the pump, the water pump.
Change the battery quickly.
Okay, we're just changing battery on the camera quickly.
Yeah, we can change positions. It depends on what Shivenzi's going to do.
It does depend on what Shivenzi's going to do, yeah. The light is just getting so beautiful now on her.
It is, especially when she keeps looking up.
Yeah, I'll sit here for a bit more. Karula's not going anywhere. Her head's in the shade. As long as her face is in the shade, she's fine. And hyena sniffing just below Shivenzi. Was that Beverly? I think was asking a question. And what was the question? No? How many days since Karula's last kill? Ah, yeah, Beverly. I don't know. Simple, straightforward. I don't know.
I reckon she must have been hungry because she started on eating it.
Good point. Tara saying, I reckon she was hungry because she started eating on it before she went to fetch the cubs. Tend to agree with that. Over to Ohio. Hello, Linda. How often between kills, and will they go after it if they drop it? Will they try and go after it? I don't think so. I think if they drop it, the time period is so it's like instant. It's like the second it hits the ground, the hyena will have it and it'll be gone. So there's no point in them going after it. There's also no point in a predator confronting another one if it's unnecessary, because being a predator, a predator can't afford being injured by having a squabble over food, and as long as the hyena has the food, they're in no danger. So it's kind of built in with leopards that if they lose it to a hyena, they just let it be, and it also will give them the opportunity to escape, to get away from the hyena and get well.
Now we are
that escape is important, because there's no point in them hanging around. It's time for them to go and kill again. In terms of how long between kills is another impossible answer, because they're cats, they're opportunist. Oh look, there go the woolly-necked storks.
Yeah.
I reckon somebody's a chilipan, they've taken off. Or maybe they're just going back to a roosting spot for the night.
Just come behind.
Andrew. Yeah, all right. How's it, Andrew? Very quick one. How far east of the Chillicothe line is she? Quite far east. Almost
There, the woolly-necked storks flying in the distance. Almost behind Karula. Ryan, come in. How good on you? Are you waiting for a lock? Where's that for? Okay, I'll move out. Yeah, affirmative. Okay, we got to move. There are vehicles waiting to come in. Maybe we can come back a bit later. But we've had a lovely sighting of things so far. Just hang on, Seb. How's she? How are you? Good. Our station's leaving lock Ingwe, 2 stations on lock, Elvis moving in. Okay. Hello, Mike Moss. Interesting occurrence, Mike. Saying that, oh, what's that big bird? 2 big birds. Maybe going down towards the dam. 2 huge eagles. Pardon? Yeah. Mike was saying that he was watching a leopard once, big male leopard, that actually dropped a leg bone to a hyena. And the hyena ran off with it, and that leopard chose that moment to get away from it. I don't doubt that does happen, actually.
Yeah,
And
I believe he did it the other day, didn't he?
Pardon?
Yeah, I believe he did it the other day.
He did?
Yeah.
Was
with,
it accidental, or could you see it was on purpose?
Oh, no, I think it was accidental. He took the opportunity.
But I was saying earlier that they're not likely to do it on purpose, but Mike's just saying that he's seen it, that it has been. I suppose I don't doubt that they can get that far in terms of thinking, okay, feed the hungry hyena and then it'll run off with the bone and be distracted and then I can get away. Thanks, Mike. So, I guess I might be in trouble. I think I stayed in that sighting too long. Or maybe I wasn't supposed to go. I don't know. I'm in trouble. Always in trouble. What's that Latin saying? Semper in excretia, sed altitudo variat.
Why do you say that?
Because my radio was down and the vehicle's on standby and I was supposed to have moved out of the lock because I was there too long. Well, I probably shouldn't have gone back there in the first place because you're not really allowed to go back to it now. So I don't know.
We didn't really say that lock to begin with.
No, we were there for like 2 minutes and I let all the guys. When I called in to see who was there, nobody answered, and then somebody came over the radio and said it's an open lock, so I went back there. And suddenly when I'm there, there's like this magnet and all the vehicles are on. People who aren't, don't even, no, never mind. Where are those two eagles gone? Changing the subject. They both came down pretty low, and I thought they were a bit too big for warbirds. So I know we probably had a few other questions on leopard, maybe, I don't know. But I did have to leave, doesn't mean we can't answer any. No, there's no subject, so anything goes. Buffalo. No, sorry Seb, breaking up really badly, I can't hear a thing. Beautiful light now. Pity we couldn't be there, but we do have to give other people a chance. Yeah, I do. Oh, Ellen in Illinois. Hello, Ellen. Do hyena ever kill anything themselves? And if so, what do they hunt? What do they get? Ellen, they are, in fact, far better at hunting than any of the others. They're one of the best of all the predators, the hyena. And yes, in some places they hunt more than lions. And they go for anything. I mean, hyena are known to bring down almost anything. They can hound a buffalo until it drops and then they eat. It depends on their numbers. If there are a lot of hyena, they can bring down larger prey. If there's only a couple of them, they're smaller prey. But they're very, very powerful hunters. They have stamina that none of the other cats have. And they're able to run after their prey, much like wild dog are able to maintain speed and maintain a steady trot until their prey tires out and they're able to bring it down through sheer exhaustion. Yes, I'm already.
Huh? What's that?
Sorry, that radio was Patty Holland. No, I'm sorry, Seb, you're going to have to give that to me again. Kathy, yeah? Well, there'll always be one of them looking after the carcass even when they're not eating. Yeah, pretty much so. It's kind of a hard question to answer because I'm not too sure where you're going with it, but as long as there's food there, they'll stay there and they'll eat on it. If they're not hungry, they'll even sleep with their head on the carcass until they're hungry again, until they've made room again. They're likely to even go to the toilet from up in the tree. And they'll feed on up until they can't get much left, and then move on. But it's not like they're going to stay there for a long time without feeding on it. As soon as they can fit some more meat in their belly, they will. So, Mr. Buffalo, I'm going to go towards the damn wall, say hello to Hippo. I'll be able to look up this way to the buffalo if it's not too bright. In a minute. Texan, come in. Any update for the rest of Western Gowrie besides Nkombi?
Nothing much. Just give me the what that's the update that I can give you.
Sorry, what's that in the Malwati? Okay, copy. No glove anyway. Okay. We're going to look for something. A flower. Or a bird. Or something. Good. Chris. Oh, Britt. Hello, Britt in Germany. Wanting to know about the storks that we saw earlier. Hello, Britt. Britt as in Eckland. But those storks were woolly neck storks. Woolly as in wool, as in, because they kind of like, they got a woolly neck. So they're called woolly neck storks. W-O-L-L-Y, woolly neck storks. And, you know, Britt, I should know the German name because I used to know all the names of the birds in German. Ich habe das vergessen, ich weiß nicht. Ein Storch, ja, aber dieser, weiß nicht, what book have I got? and I'll have a look in a momentarily. And Brits are saying that they only have the white storks in Germany. We have a lot of different storks here. We have your white storks will be coming in November, December. We can't really have a date competition when the first white storks arrive because we won't see them. Much like we don't have the habitat for cheetah, the same type of habitat is needed to have the white storks. Although we have seen them occasionally, one or two, but not in the numbers that you get them here. In the summer months, you get open fields with 100, 200 storks. We get black storks, and if we're lucky, abdoms, I think, are vagrants. And marabou storks used to occur here a lot, but they kind of live in places where they get easy meals nowadays. It's a little bit too difficult for them. They're opportunist deluxe. Saddle-billed storks. Sattelschnabelstorch. I don't know. Maybe better, not in German. And what other storks do we get? Open-billed storks are really strange looking. They're just unique in that their beak doesn't come together. It's got this little open patch, and that helps them eat mollusks and gastropods, freshwater mussels or clams, freshwater snails. Where shall we go? Down Weaver's Nest and then around to Twin Dams. So much for having an evening with the leopards. I don't think we're going to be able to go back there, so we're going to look for something else. There was that big male that was walking around. Hello, squirrel. Are you directing traffic this afternoon?
Is there quite a big lineup there?
Well, Ryan and yes, there are evidently a lot of landowners around at the moment. Plus Jacobin and Torchwood and Buffelshoek. And of course they don't announce they're coming into the siding, they just arrive. So there were a number of vehicles waiting to come in. I got admonished in Shangan over the radio. Getting back to Buffalo, we must be lagging a little bit, but that's just what happens. Okay. Okay. But still, question on Buffalo. Carolyn, hello, Carolyn J. How heavy is that boss of the? How heavy is the horns of the buffalo? What is it made of? And when they fight, do they headbutt like mountain goats? Or they headbutt like buffalo, not like quite like mountain goats. I've heard buffalo fighting to such an extent that it sounds like a rifle shot when they crash heads together. But they don't come from a distance away. It's more close one-on-one combat. They tend to do a lot more hooking each other with those horns and trying to lift each other, trying to stab each other with the horns, trying to get at each other. The horns lock more than they hit each other with the horns. But you do often hear this very loud crack, and that is that very heavy and very dense horn mass with 800 to 900 kilograms of buffalo behind it, hitting another 800 to 900 kilograms of buffalo coming the opposite direction at a, not like a yak. I mean, I think the most frightening of all have got to be the yaks. The yaks and some of the mountain goats. I mean, the mountain goats, they lift up on their back legs and they crash down like the ibex, I think. Crashed. Here's a wisteria. I said I wanted to find a flower. Here's a flower. Tara and Sept went past one when they were looking for the cubs yesterday.
Yeah.
You went through a beautiful big one, and one of the ones that I wanted, flower for the ladies for today, had to be today's flower. I know, I've just digressed completely. I'll get back to the horns, I promise. Balasanthus speciosus. There you go, ladies, for all of you out there. The romantic in me. Brighten up your life a little bit. Brighten up our, what appears to be a grey, drab, brown bushveld. It's called a tree wisteria because some of you might even have the wisteria creeper growing in your gardens or in your trellises or over your cars or somewhere in your gardens. We've got a lot of the wisteria creepers in our gardens in South Africa, in suburbia, was brought here. Somebody can maybe tell me where it comes from, the actual creeper, the wisteria creeper. And the flowers are not very different. This is called a tree wisteria. I don't believe it is related. Well, it is remotely, I guess, in terms of maybe being leguminous. I don't know if it is even a legume. Subfamily. Anyways, it's only called a tree wisteria because the flowers look like the wisteria creeper. It doesn't have the pods that the wisteria creeper has. And it doesn't grow as a creeper. And this is an indigenous plant. The wisteria creeper comes from somewhere else, and I want somebody to please tell me where wisteria comes from. Could it be South America? And they're normally this kind of tree. They're very scraggly, thin trees. They don't grow very tall. And there aren't too many of them here. But there's just that really one nice specimen that Seb and Tara passed yesterday. Named after Harry Bolus, a botanist who has a botanical garden named after him in the Cape. Harry Bolus Botanical Garden near Betty's Bay, I think it is. And he was the one that discovered this. It was named after him. His name was Harry Bolus. And he has a nephew who's one of my doctors. Dr. Bolus. Well, he was. I don't need to see him anymore. He was one of my doctors. And he didn't even know he had a flower named after him. Or his family. I told him. Took him the tree book to show him. Let's go. I might even find you another flower today. So the horns of a buffalo are very heavy. They're made of keratin, the outer horn part. The inner part of the buffalo's horn is skull and bone, all the way through to the curve, and they're just covered in that horny material known as keratin. Same as the hoof of an animal, or our fingernails. It's maybe perhaps more dense than our fingernails. That's why it's black. Ten or 15 kilos the weight of a head of a buffalo. Sorry, that's without all the flesh and muscle and skin, and that's just the bare skull. Okay. Safari girl. Caribou. Safari girl wants to know when we're going to see dung beetles again. I wonder. My guess is after the first thunderstorm. Number of dung beetles are probably pupating as we speak in their dung balls or underground in their chambers where, oh, there's a nice big kudu bull. We'll get to see him. He's on the other side of the road. The fire broke. Can you see him through there?
Yep. There's two.
Two of them. There's a younger one too. Meow.
Sure.
That must have looked weird. Did it come past the camera? Huh?
Mm.
Did it come past the camera?
Yeah, I think so.
That was probably so quick it was a flash.
I just saw the dust.
I just saw the dust. Okay. Yeah. It was like one of those road runner things. Like, meow. Meanwhile, there's a Land Rover with 12 people on it. That's interesting. Wisterias from China, Korea, Japan, Joanne, and a few others saying. Beverly, Tara. A few people saying from the Far East. That's interesting. Come to think of it, it looks like something that would come out of the Far East. Very pretty flower. Very delicate, hanging down like that. Thank you, ladies, for sending me that information. Infotainment information. So was I saying something and then I got sidetracked by kudu and forgot what I was saying? Probably. Pardon? On the road at the vehicle up on the top of Chidakatlan.
Oh, so couldn't see it from back there.
No, breaking up. Sorry, Seb. Give me a break. I mean, just getting hissing. Oh, this little part. Get to Twin Dams and then see if we can get a better signal somewhere. I think we need to go up towards Drakensberg Drive for a sunset, to have a look at sunset. Zebra were rolling in the sand. Okay, let's try now. Kelly wants to know if there are any animals on the endangered species list in the park. Yes, many, several, few. I mean, I wouldn't really know where they stand in the red data list at the moment. I haven't looked at the status of a lot of animals and how they classify it. But I mean, rhino, for example, lion are considered nowadays they're on a decline. Of course, cheetah and wild dog. Number of bird species: Bateleur, saddle-billed storks, martial eagles, ground hornbills, who we haven't seen for a while. Probably even odd insects and spiders, and I mean there's a lot of smaller creatures there might be, but the big ones that count, roan and sable. We're not talking about just here at Djuma, we're talking about the whole area now, because it is one big entity. So we can't, when you're talking about this kind of thing, you can't really only talk about Djuma. Sunbird, it's the same sunbird you were looking at this morning, still making a noise.
Yeah.
He's up there.
He's got a lot to say, eh?
He has. And his female is there too. They've gone again. Your favourite sunbird?
Yeah.
I think mine must be the scarlet-chested. Although I've nearly got some really good ones. But if it was your camera, we'd get. I've hooked that hose pipe into one of the trees so that it was wetting the leaves. And it's the only time that sunbirds will bathe is if they've got water splashing on leaves. They don't like really getting into a bath like other birds and flapping their wings. They'll drink from that water, but they won't get in and bath. Well, not won't, they might. But what's irresistible to a sunbird is when you put a hose in a tree and it sprays onto the leaves, and the sunbirds can rub themselves on the wet foliage or sit in the drops of water like a fine spray. They love it. Tomorrow, after drive, put the water on, you can get some really good close-ups of him. That white-bellied did come.
That'd be awesome, yeah.
My camera
Can't
caught.
get him through the glass when he sits on the windowsill.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, that's perfect, because then you get him sitting in the sun, and he does his little yellow shoulder, his underarm. We've got these beautiful little yellow patches that he can display, and sometimes you don't see them because they're hidden under his shoulders, under his wings. And he puffs those little yellow things out. It's part of his mating display. He uses that yellow, and of course she's much shyer, but she's there too. We're talking about a white-bellied sunbird that lives in camp. I want to go up.
Sure, it's just got nippy all of a sudden.
It is, and I didn't bring much to put on today. Didn't bring anything to tie up my hair either. Something down here that the birds are shouting at? Maybe we need to investigate. An oriole calling. There's something around. I can hear oxpeckers also. Go up onto Batley Road. wanted to know if leopards mate for life. Not really, Nicole. Not really. A male leopard incorporates several female leopards' territories within his territory or his home range, and so they're not monogamous. And it's only really monogamous species that mate for life. You don't get any polygamous species that mate for life. But also the turnover of territories and the dynamics of leopards don't allow them, because they live in separate areas. Only animals that you find that will mate for life are animals that share the same territory and share the same area and share the same lifestyle. Leopard, predominantly solitary. I mean, we have seen a lot of different things happening with leopard, and there's a good chance that, who knows, Jordan might be around for a long time still, and Karula might mate with him again, and the two of them might have a long, happy life and only know each other as mates. And then you could argue that that is a monogamous relationship and they mated for life. So I guess it's possible that a leopard and a male and a female leopard could associate with each other their whole lives and not have access to other leopards or not be exposed to other leopards, in which case you could say that maybe they do, but generally no, you can really attribute mating for life to leopards. Oh, there was a little raptor. Don't know what it was. Could have been a little sparrowhawk or something, or a goshawk. Flew too quickly. Hello, Sherlan. Sherlan arrived late on the scene, wanting to know if we know how or who moved that impala from higher up where Karula was lying, where it was this morning, to lower down in the tree. No, we don't know. We got there this afternoon, Sherlan, that it had already been moved. My guess is that in the process of feeding, especially the youngsters, and also possibly the proximity of the other leopards, just the whole dynamic of the three of them in the same tree, hyena at the bottom, moving around the carcass was, I suppose it occurred in maybe arguing over who's going to get to eat on it first. But no, I'm afraid I can't tell you that. It's impossible to know. So we have zebra tracks. Mostly only. Oh, Gilly, thank you for that. Gilly is mentioning an incident at Pete's Pond, and I've tried to look at the archives, and I don't know. I did bring it up, but it wouldn't play last night when I was trying to look at it for Dr. Ruth. Sorry, Dr. Ruth. But there's been an incident at Pete's Pond, one of the cameras on Wild Earth, and that involved one of the geese getting a very badly injured wing. Evidently there was some footage and archive from a few nights ago when it first happened, and evidently last night, thank you Gilly, evidently last night one of the catfish made a lunge for the geese again. Evidently the catfish hanging out on the edge of the pond, who knows, maybe they're getting a bit hungry. I would have thought that geese would be a little bit big for a catfish. The thing is, if a catfish get a goose in the water and they drown it, the decomposition process will actually favor the catfish because it'll allow them to maybe strip the carcass. Very interesting. I'll have to look at those archives, both of them, when I get back today. So it was catfish. We've been speculating what it could be, whether it was monitor lizard or catfish, because there's been a monitor lizard seen there as well. Even thought that maybe Fatty the crocodile had returned.
Did he die or did he just leave?
No, he just left. Evidently there would be times when he'd wander off for a few months and then come back. Obviously the dry season, go to maybe more permanent water. I mean, I don't know Mashatu, I've never been there, so I don't know what other water there would be close by. Where's our best sunset going to be, I wonder? Leadwood Road, no. Let's maybe try down this end, towards Mumba Road. Been a civet here. I must show you that midden.
Oh yes.
Although we're a bit far, well, it's up that way. We'll go that way after here, because I think what we'll do, we'll go past Buffelshoek Dam. I better get some of this zebra wood out of the road. Pardon?
I can hear a squirrel shouting.
What is hectic? Okay. Seb's just saying he watched that video, it's a monster catfish. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at it now.
Yeah.
I didn't think that there would be big enough catfish in Pete's Pond. There's a whole zebra wood. I hope I don't get spiked in my... Bless you. Twice today. Hitting the mountains. Actually getting through the gap in the mountains, the sun. Ah, sure. Tore me. Sorry, Dr. Rita, not Dr. Ruth. Apologies. Freudian slip. No, we're gonna not make it. We're not gonna make it. The sun set. We missed it. Okay, we get the afterglow.
That means that was the whole of through Caroline opening.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
I thought it was the other one on the other side. Okay, we got the afterglow. My apologies. I drove a little too slow. And it's time to put something warm on. I thought I had a lens cloth. So, Dr. Rita, my apologies, and glad you appreciate that update. I'm sorry I couldn't get back to you before. I should have. Although I didn't have much news for you before. Welcome to Africa. Welcome to South Africa, and more precisely, welcome to Djuma Game Reserve. And a beautiful, clear sky today. Perhaps the wind and the weather that we've had in the last few days has cleared up a lot of the haze that has been hiding the mountains in the past few days. And greetings to Sweden. Hello, Peter Peterson. Saying that the barn swallows left Sweden today. They should be coming down this way. Actually, there's another one. Let's put in dates for when the first swallows are going to arrive. I think they used to be... Is it the European swallow that's now the barn swallow?
Yeah.
The barn swallows coming back to Africa. We should be seeing them in the next couple of weeks. It'll take them a couple of weeks to get here, I think. Thank you for the message from Sweden, Peter. Okay. I was going to put on my Djuma jersey. A Djuma jersey.
Holiday on the exit, heading west.
Oops. A bit loud there, next to the microphone. No. I keep doing this. I put something on and I zip it up or button it up with the microphone, the earpiece wire inside it.
I did that the other night.
Okie dokes.
Somewhere couldn't be mad.
I kept it.
Yeah, exactly.
I was hoping to hear from a special Mtoto in Valencia. Hola Mtoto. Where are you? Mtoto Marion. Let's go. See what we can see. Look what we can find. See what we can find. Look what we can see. Actually, that would be nice. Next sunset, catch that dead tree. Actually, it would be still a month or so before we'll be able to do that. Hello, Beverly Butterfly. Wanting to know if the wisteria has a scent like honeysuckle or something. No, actually it doesn't. This was a huge elephant. It was a few days ago. It was an incredibly big bull elephant here. How could I miss him? How could he miss me?
too far from where I left you now.
So this is an insight into how my brain works, or rather, maybe more appropriately, how my brain doesn't work. Beverly asked a question, and I can't for the life of me, I can't remember whether I answered it or not.
I get that.
Beverly butterfly. Seb?
I think you were in the middle of answering it.
Oh yes. I think I was in the middle of answering it. Where the wisteria has a fragrance like honeysuckle. No, it doesn't really have much of a fragrance. You find, especially that kind of a flower, it has more of a visual stimuli than an olfactory one. That those flowers are specially designed, or rather they have special markings on them that for an insect that sees through a different color spectrum, different light spectrum to what we do. Birds are mobbing something here. Could be a snake in this tree. Definitely a snake in this tree. I can see a tail sticking out of that hole. And it's something, but these drongos, the way they're all behaving, there's definitely something going on in this tree. Starlings have gone off, but there's still a bunch of drongos here. This is the kind of behavior you get when they are... Yeah, there's a tail of something. Gone now. Where is it, baby birds? Or are they... Or are they catching something that's emerging? Like, they're not alarming. Starling's back. What is it, birds?
Let's do this part of the tree, birds.
Pardon?
They keep flying to this part of the tree.
Yeah. It's also a dead limb, and I was wondering that maybe there's a type of termite in there that's maybe releasing some winged individual. In fact, this tree is full of holes. They're flying like they're catching stuff in the air more than they're flying like they're mobbing something now that I'm looking at them. And they must be very small. Must be maybe termites. I'm seeing very small. Okay, not a snake. They're feeding on something up there. And judging by the way they're behaving, my guess is that that dead limb, that one there now, has maybe got... There is a tiny, really small type of termite that lives in dead wood. We've already had some of their winged reproductives flying it. See, there are no alarm calls, and they fly off and then land as though they're catching something in midair. So, Beverly, since insects can see different light spectrums, what they see when they see purple flower with pink and white lines, they're actually seeing probably something like bright orange colors that look like landing lights for an insect, and those lines guide the insect into the part of the flower that they want. that the flower wants the insect to be, to get a reward and to pollinate it. And it's a particular type of insect, no doubt, that doesn't necessarily rely on scent to find that flower. It's not a hard and fast rule, and you're going to find exceptions to all rules in nature, and particularly this one with flowers, because you do get flowers that have scent, that have a scent, that have a color and have lovely shapes, or rather designs. But the one thing about flowers that flower during the day and flowers that draw pollinators during the day, it's better to be pretty than to smell nice. And some of them even smell bad. We have a plant in camp called Stapelia gigantea. It has these giant star flowers that smell like carrion, and it attracts flies that come to carrion, and it'll attract the same kind of flies to come and pollinate these flowers. And they'll be coming out soon. We can take photos for you. Nocturnal flowers that require pollination by nocturnal animals, those tend to be the flowers that have more of a scent. And you'll find that even though you might smell them during the day, come nightfall, that multiplies by 10 the power of the scent of things like, I mean, one of my favorites has got to be tuberoses. You know, we don't grow them here, and they don't occur here, but I used to run a camp in East Africa, in Tanzania. It was a lovely little luxury tented camp, and one of our regular guests was the British consulate, the High Commissioner, actually, the British High Commission. And they used to, I don't know where they got flowers from, but we could buy flowers from the High Commission. And we used to get once, sometimes twice a week, these bunches with huge bunch of tuberoses. And they'd be on this big vase in the dining room, backed by what was called by some a bordello mirror. It was this huge gilt-edged mirror, you know, those huge gilt-edged, gilt-covered frames. And it did look like it came out of a bordello, but it was just so surreal in that kind of setting on the Rufiji River. And the dining room actually was canvas. It was long deck covered in really fancy canvas. And we later on built a dining room up on stilts. Overlooked. That was when after the flood took everything away. The flood of 98. We then built a big wooden structure, like a big, huge, big doesn't describe it, it was huge, beautiful big dining area, lounge area, bar, way up on stilts, overlooking the Rufiji River and the lakes. And we got flooded again. And then we had to just move the whole camp. So we had to break that down and move it. So in one season I moved the kitchen, and the kitchen was a brick building. We broke it down, moved it brick by brick 3 times. And that big structure, I built that big structure twice with the contractor. We built it twice. Built it, broke it down, moved it, and built it again. And after I built the new camp, I stayed there for a little while and then had to come back to South Africa. Selous Safari Camp in Selous in Tanzania. Beautiful place. But the best situated camp in the whole of Selous, I reckon. Middle of the lake system. Walking was fantastic. Right, pipeline, let's go see. Get off of Cheetah Cut Line. Head back west. Have you heard a beep out of this thing?
No, I haven't. I was just about to say, did you do something to this connection?
Well, I put it on boost charge for a bit, but I don't know how much we can do that. I must find out whether it's feasible to put it on boost charge and how much it's going to destroy it by doing it.
I heard a beep right at the start of drive, and then I haven't heard anything out of it since.
Because last night we were already...
Yeah, I know, I was looking at it. So it was 22.6 last night that we went. Now it's 6 o'clock.
Interesting. I fiddled with batteries today. I didn't have to tighten anything. Oh, there's another... I forgot to get the name of that flower again. All over the place now, this sanguinea. popping up everywhere. They might even be a root parasite. Got to look for that tonight. I will not forget. I have to go back. The civet tracks are here. I have to turn around because I forgot to show Tara something. But the civet looks like it was here like recently. You can smell potato bush. So I'm going to have to turn, just go back up to Cheetah Cut Line briefly. Hyena tracks. Hmm? Leopard also?
Huh? No, it's just a hyena. I thought it was leopard.
Civet's gone down there. Oh, very strong potato bush smell. Cool. Vicky, Gatorbait, Kathy, have found zoomies. Proud of you. Well done. Found blacksmith lapwing nest right in front of the camera. Looks like maybe 2 eggs in the nest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's great. Nice, great news. Thanks very much for that.
What colour are the eggs?
What color are the eggs? Are they white? That shouldn't be white.
No, they shouldn't be white.
Huh?
They shouldn't be white.
No. They should be the same color as the ground.
Yeah.
Vroom vroom. Reverse safari. Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
I'm not showing you because it's Tara's in Darba. Tara's spiel. But I know where it is.
Sure, how have I missed that?
I don't know.
That brown one.
For Tara's who done it, I've just showed Tara a special midden. Some of you might get it when you eventually get to the quiz, because I'm sure it'll be part of your quiz in the next few days.
And the buffalo had a problem this morning.
Actually, you must get some of the rubber gloves from.
Yes, I should do.
Then you can play with it.
Yeah. You know what I really want to find?
What?
Aardvark dog.
Oh, okay.
Played an aardvark dog.
Sure. That's.
I found one once.
You found one once.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't know if you can hear Tara. Gets excited over aardvark dung. I would too get excited over aardvark dung. I have to be honest.
Well,
I get a bit more excited.
I was quite happy because the girl that I was with who used to do the horse safaris, and we were actually on horseback and we stopped to have a look at the hole, and I got very excited and she also got very excited. So
Oh, that's
I
nice.
wasn't alone, thankfully.
I get more excited with the aardvark though.
Yeah.
But we all would be, and that's a given. Okay, let's put some lights on. As I say, let's put some lights on. Let's put some lights on. Sorry if that made a noise. I just had to wake up the light switch. The switch, I put the switch on, but the little men inside that hold the wires together, they were sleeping, so I just woke them up so they put, you know what I mean?
You're talking to your Land Rover.
Pardon?
Gunner's been talking to your Land Rover.
Gunner's been talking to my Land Rover. He's getting some tips on how to irritate Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, what did I want to look for? This thing, this new toy that's not melted. And
Oh, we got a new one.
we got a new one
We got a new one to melt.
to melt. And it's got a trigger. Doesn't have a switch that can accidentally switch itself on and melt away the Gunda. Thank you, Juma Game Reserve, for providing us with a new spotlight. Nice lightweight, not much different to the one we had. It's just got a better switch on it. Well, no, it's got a different switch. Don't know how much better it is. Not going to be a Sumac. Wanting to know if we have any orchid species. And Nicole also. Nicole, you were also asking the other day about the Visicum and the other mistletoe species as well. We do, Sumac and Nicole. We get one species, two subspecies of orchid here. Tree orchids. We'll have to find them for you. They should be coming to flower fairly soon. Let's see, I think from about maybe next month or the month after. More the wet season. The giant tree orchid, Ancelia gigantea, and one subspecies got yellow flowers, the other one's got yellow flowers with brown spots on them. Not nearly as many. I mean, I don't know of any ground-dwelling orchids. Although there are some in the book, I haven't seen any. I've found plants that look like orchids, but they're not. You see, I love the plants, and I think I do pretty well in identifying the plants, but I'm not a botanist. I haven't studied botany. So I'm still learning how to classify plants into different families just by their appearance. Takes a while.
I struggle with that.
I wonder if anyone's here at Tiffles of Dam. Hope not. I don't want to disturb anybody. Beautiful, tranquil, calming, reflective, hiccups.
Excuse me.
Again.
Got the windy pops again.
You call them the windy pops? Are you aiming for like a Guinness World Record type thing on hiccups?
I think it must be,
Right. Left. Right. Left. Right. It's actually the other way around. Left, right, left, right. Good night, everybody. Don't all shout at once. Very interesting question, Donna. Let's get through here. I'm going to get through the big dip below the dam wall, and I will answer Donna's question right after this. Right after this dip, where we might lose you. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve, if you're joining in. If you're new to Juma and our drive, and you are new to our family, and I hope you are, there are some of you that are new, drop us a line. Let us know where you are. Let us know what part of the world you reside in, and just say hi. questions@juma.com. Okay, so Donna was asking if the Stapelia has a carrion smell to it, would it attract hyenas? And would the hyenas eat the flower? Well, it's funny you should ask that, but there's got to be something, I guess, in the smell that kind of tricks the flies, but it doesn't trick hyenas. We have hyena come through camp often, at night perhaps, and when that flower is flowering, I haven't noticed before that they've shown any interest in it or anything else for that matter, other than the flies that come to it. Maybe it's too subtle for hyenas, but boy, there's nothing that's subtle for them. Nothing too subtle for a hyena. I can pick up, what's that little tiny little animal? If it's still there when I get there. A little animal on the ground. And a bush baby. Maybe it's a bush baby on the ground. There's a bush baby in the tree. It reminded me I wanted to go past Central Road. It's a young bush baby. To oil these brakes. You got it there, or do I need to go forward more? I can even just get a silhouette of it. A little gremlin up a tree. Gallego. Those ears like radar dishes. Now in summer, going into summer, feeding more on insects than anything else. They hunt, as well as the eyes, those lovely big eyes that give them good nocturnal vision, but they do primarily hunt with sound. And they can hear insects with those ears. Whoa! Hello, baby. Bush baby. I remember people have often asked, so what do you call an adult bush baby? Or what do you call them when they're teenagers? Thank you. Excuse me. Dust. And who was that, Sept? I got most of it. Kathy Holland. Just mentioning update on the goose guck saga, the goose duck guck, Egyptian goose, known as a guck by certain people, by us viewers, us weeple. It was a phrase coined here at Juma Dam, Gari Dam. Alright, Paddy was saying that a couple of vultures have arrived in the tree, that wanting to know if it has anything to do with the injured guck or goose or duck. Not a duck, well, it's related to duck. To think that the geese, Egyptian geese, are closer related to the shell ducks or the tree ducks or something. Something's banging under this car. I don't think the vultures have anything to do with it, to be honest. Look, it's night time and the vultures can't do anything at night. The white-backed vultures don't kill things, then they might be there because they're roosting overnight because there might have been a kill elsewhere in the area, or they might just be there because they want water. They came in, either have had water or they're going to have water in the morning, or they're just roosting there overnight. It's one of those wait and see kind of things. What happens in the morning, I don't think much will happen overnight though. More than likely the vultures will still be there in the morning. They're not, well, they're certainly not going to fly now. I think it's way too dark for vultures to be on the wing now. Although, I don't know, how dark is it in Pete's Pond? Sun's just setting on the horizon at Pete's Pond. Not quite dark yet. Okay, so those vultures still have a little bit of time to maybe fly off to a more recognized roost or their nest. It sounds like they're set there for the night. They're going to be roosting there for the night. So, interesting to find out tomorrow what is happening. Dolly wants to know where they go during the day. Hello, Dolly. So nice to have you back where you belong. No. Dolly wants to know where the bush babies go during the day. They live in holes in trees. Very simple. In fact, they take over old woodpecker holes. But a lot of trees develop their own holes from branches that maybe get broken by an elephant, and the wood dies back and insects eat that wood and they make natural holes. I meant to do Central Road. There's a there's a hole in a tree on Central Road that had some juveniles. There was one evening we had, how many was it, Sept? 3, I think. 3 or 4 bush babies around that hole. 3, I think. I was with Becky. Okay. It was just after we came back. Also, by now they might have grown up and left the nest. But yes, holes in trees, not easy to find. They don't really, so even if you look in, you're not likely to see them. So you'll go.
Now that should keep on heading. Otherwise, look at the airport.
Oh, Davina, wanting to know if that bush baby jumped or fell. Jumped, Davina. They are incredible jumpers. They're like miniature lemurs. And I don't know if you've ever seen any film of lemurs jumping, but they're like miniature lemurs. I mean, they are little primates. They are very closely related to lemurs and us and other primates. And they could clear this road with one jump. Although they'll tend to do it in two. But they can jump 6 to 8 feet with one leap. And they're very quick too. They're incredible little creatures. Little beings. Oh. Got an intense pain underneath my foot for some reason. Almost as though my other me in an ulterior universe has just been stabbed in the foot. You know how you get those ghost pain things? It's just weird. It's just like a... It's over now. Almost as though... It's uncanny. I don't know, whatever I did today with the battery seems to have... Because I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I'm absolutely amazed.
Witty dad. I just smelled something. Hello, Shelby. How are you doing today, Shelby? Saying, I suppose you don't have hummingbirds because you don't have flowers. Shelby, we got some awesome flowers. And we don't have hummingbirds, but we do have birds that feed on the nectar and the flowers. We have sunbirds. Try and get you a sunbird on camera tomorrow or the next day. But no, we don't have hummingbirds in Africa at all. But we have sunbirds, and they look very similar to hummingbirds. They're very colorful. They can sort of hover, but not for the length of periods that hummingbirds can hover. They do drink nectar the same as hummingbirds do. They have those very long, thin, decurved beaks that they can probe into flowers, and very long tongues that they lap up the nectar with. They clamber about in the trees, and they feed on the flowers. Excuse me, by sitting on the trees, on the flowers. And they are very small birds, but they are not related to hummingbirds, and we don't have anything like a hummingbird. I believe they're actually not very closely related at all. Just parallel paths of evolution, perhaps. I don't know whether it's the hummingbirds or the sunbirds that are related to the nightjars of all birds. So we're on Mvubu Road and we're heading down towards Gary Dam, by the way. We try and tell you what roads we're on most of the time. There's a chameleon. Chameleons are out. They stopped sleeping for the dry season. Hello, chameleon. His name is Rango. Every chameleon I see is going to be called Rango. Hello, Rango. Where's your 6-shooter? Move a little bit to get its eye, maybe. No. He's hiding. He's going to bed. Still awake, but he's going to bed. He could be a she, quite a big one. Excuse me. Nice to see the reptiles out again. We've had some frogs in camp keeping us awake. Some of the raucous toads. And actually, I must check the distribution between raucous and guttural. Okay, we don't want to disturb him too much. There's something that we are likely to be seeing in our night drives. And the competition is, that one was easy, it was right next to the road. The idea is to find the chameleon 40 feet away. I think I hold the record, about 40 feet. But I've got to start a new record now because it's the new season. Flap-necked chameleon. It has these flaps that come out over the neck from the back of the head. Flap-necked chameleon. It's the only species of chameleon we get here. Oh, look, here's another thing to see. We see these these nests, and now it's beeping. Okay, so we're going to say goodbye now anyway. The dust is pushing them into the center of the web. But we see these spider webs a lot, these big balls of silk, but we don't ever see the spiders, and that is because they're nocturnal. This is the community spider. They only come out onto their sheets at night, and they all hunt communally. It's too much light. They hunt communally. If they find something big in their web, they'll all attack it. If there's something small, they'll take it individually. And those are all females and their daughters. It's a whole female society, that. Females and their daughters and their daughters. And the only community spider that we get, the only social spider that we get here. You see, they've got various entrances to their web, to their main hub of the web. And every season, when the tree loses its leaves, they will gather some of those dead leaves, or the leaves that fall into that hub of the web. And that just helps make it bigger, because they will just sew those into that hub and incorporate them and make a new chamber for a new spider to live in. But they're all racing back to cover now, because the vehicle came whizzing past and there was dust. And they no doubt picked up the carbon dioxide, and they're rushing to get back in under cover. And as soon as something touches this band of silk that is a sail, a band, or a big net of silk, they're not considered orb weavers because they don't spin a very typical orb web. They spin a very untidy sheet of web, but it's still very effective. It can catch even very big insects. And because there are many of them, like a hyena, they will just overwhelm the insect and bite it in its legs and its abdomen and any place they can get their little teeth into it. They're not venomous to us. They're 100% harmless. They are more harmless than a mosquito. I'm going to say less harmless, more harmless. A mosquito is worse than them. Yes. Hummingbirds and swifts. Thank you, RC Netherlands. Hummingbirds and swifts are related. My new birding buddy in the Netherlands. Beeping. Anyways, time to say goodbye. It's the time. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. You're going to have Seb and Tara, I think, tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy your Saturday, the rest of your Saturday, and the rest of your weekend if we don't see you again. But I hope we are. We're going to see you out tomorrow morning. Maybe some of you for your tonight. We've got a lovely clear night. My name is Mark. Tara's been on camera. Seb is back in FC. And from all of us here at Duma Game Reserve, good night, goodbye, and thank you for being part of us.